Your mind is your greatest ally or your most dangerous enemy. The difference is discipline. Discipline is not about being perfect. It's about choosing what matters over what's easy. The undisciplined mind chases distractions, reacts emotionally, and wastes potential. Your mind is constantly producing thoughts, some empowering, some destructive, and many completely unnecessary. A disciplined mind understands that just because a thought appears, it doesn't mean it is true, important, or worth entertaining. Most people allow their thoughts to dictate their mood, their decisions, and even their identity without questioning them. But mental discipline begins when you stop being a passive observer and become an active commander of your inner world. Controlling your thoughts doesn't mean suppressing them. It means recognizing them for what they are: temporary mental events, not absolute realities. When negativity enters, you don't let it sit and take root. When fear appears, you don't allow it to rewrite your future. You create distance between yourself and your thoughts. You learn to say, I see this thought, but I don't accept it. This separation gives you the power to choose what stays and what leaves. An undisciplined mind spirals quickly. A single fear thought becomes anxiety. One negative memory becomes a storm of self-doubt. But a disciplined mind interrupts these spirals. It observes the thought, questions it, and deliberately replaces it with something stronger. It brings awareness into the moment and prevents the mind from running wild. To control your thoughts, you must build the habit of catching them early. The mind loves autopilot, and it will always default to familiar patterns. If your familiar pattern is worry, you will worry. If it's anger, you will react. If it's insecurity, you will shrink. But when you step in and redirect these patterns, you rewire your mental program. You teach your mind that not fear, not doubt, not emotion, are the one in control. Thought control is not a one-time act. It's daily training. It's constant awareness. It's choosing your internal narrative instead of letting it be chosen for you. Because when you master this skill, your thoughts become tools, not traps. They become fuel, not obstacles. They become the foundation for a stronger, sharper, and more powerful version of yourself. Focus is one of the rarest and most valuable abilities in the modern world. Everywhere you look, there are distractions competing for a piece of your mind. Notifications, opinions, noise, entertainment, temptations, and responsibilities, all fighting to pull you in different directions. Most people are scattered. Their attention is fragmented. They jump from task to task, idea to idea, desire to desire, never giving anything the depth of concentration it deserves. But a disciplined mind understands that true power comes from focused energy, not divided effort. When you develop the ability to focus deeply on one goal, one task, or one direction at a time, you unlock a level of efficiency and clarity that ordinary people never experience. Focus magnifies your potential. It allows you to accomplish in 1 hour what others can't achieve in an entire day. It cuts through confusion and overwhelm because you're no longer trying to do everything. You're doing the right thing with full intensity. A focused mind doesn't chase every opportunity or idea. It selects what aligns with its purpose and eliminates everything else. It understands that saying yes to one thing requires saying no to dozens of others. This ability to filter is what creates progress. Without focus, even the most capable person becomes ineffective. With focus, even someone with limited resources becomes unstoppable. Focus also builds momentum. When you consistently direct your attention toward a single priority, your skills grow faster, your discipline strengthens, and your results compound. You enter a state of flow where work feels smooth, thoughts are sharp, and actions become automatic. This state of deep focus is where breakthroughs happen, where creativity expands, and where progress accelerates. But gaining focus requires training. You must teach your mind to resist resist the pull of distractions. You must strengthen your ability to stay present, to commit to one task fully, and to return your attention whenever it wanders. This discipline doesn't come naturally. It is built through repetition, intentional practice, and a clear understanding of what truly matters in your life. When you treat your focus like the precious resource it is, you stop wasting it on trivial things. You stop giving your attention to people who drain you, to habits that weaken you, to thoughts that distract you. Instead, you channel your energy into the goals that elevate you, the dreams that drive you, and the actions that move your life forward with purpose and power. Emotional stability is one of the most powerful forms of mental discipline because it allows you to remain in control even when life tries to provoke you. Most people react instantly to whatever emotion hits them: anger, frustration, insecurity, fear, jealousy, or stress. These reactions often lead to decisions they regret, words they didn't mean, and actions that damage their relationships, or goals, or self-respect. But a disciplined mind understands that emotions are temporary signals, not commands you must obey. Emotional stability doesn't mean you stop feeling. It means you stop letting feelings dictate your behavior. You learn how to pause between the emotion and the reaction. You create a gap, a moment of awareness where you can evaluate what you're feeling and decide how you want to respond. That pause is where your power lies. That pause is where discipline grows. When you are emotionally stable, you become unshakable. People can disappoint you, but they cannot control you. Situations can challenge you, but they cannot break you. Stress may rise, but it cannot push you into chaos. You learn how to hold yourself steady even when your circumstances are unstable. A highly disciplined mind becomes a guardian of its emotional state. It doesn't allow every criticism to hurt, every problem to overwhelm, or every setback to trigger panic. Instead, you develop the ability to step back, breathe, observe, and respond with clarity. You understand that emotions are just energy passing through you. They are not permanent truths about your character or your future. Emotional stability also builds confidence. When you trust yourself to stay calm under pressure, you stop fearing difficulties because you know you can handle them. You stop avoiding challenges because you are no longer intimidated by the emotional discomfort they bring. You even stop reacting to small irritations or drama because you no longer feel the need to defend your ego or feed negativity. This strength also improves your relationships. You communicate more thoughtfully, you avoid misunderstandings, and you become someone others respect because of your calmness and maturity. Your presence itself becomes powerful, calm, grounded, and composed, while others exhaust themselves with emotional chaos. Developing emotional stability requires awareness, patience, and consistent training. It means learning to observe your emotions as they rise, understanding their source, and refusing to let them control your actions. With time, your reactions become slower, your thinking becomes clearer, and your emotions lose their power to dictate your destiny. Delaying gratification is one of the deepest signs of a disciplined mind because it requires you to choose long-term fulfillment over short-term pleasure. Most people get trapped by their immediate desires. They crave quick comfort, quick results, and quick satisfaction. They want success without sacrifice, progress without patience, and growth without struggle. But every truly successful person understands one truth: the rewards worth having always demand time, discipline, and consistency. When you delay gratification, you train your mind to rise above impulses. You teach yourself that a temporary craving is not more important than a long-term goal. You stop living for the moment and start living for your future. This shift in mindset is what separates those who merely wish for greatness from those who build it through daily commitment. The ability to delay gratification strengthens your willpower. Every time you resist an urge to quit, to procrastinate, to choose laziness, or to indulge in comfort. You reinforce your mental discipline. You prove to yourself that you are stronger than your desires. This builds inner confidence because you begin to trust your ability to stay committed, even when it's inconvenient or challenging. Delaying gratification also sharpens your focus on priorities. When you stop giving into every distraction or temptation, you free your mind to concentrate on the things that truly matter. You learn to say no to what is easy so you can say yes to what is meaningful. You become someone who doesn't chase instant pleasure, but rather invests time and effort into building a stronger, better, and more successful version of yourself. The power of delayed gratification is evident in every area of life. In health, it means choosing discipline over unhealthy cravings. In relationships, it means choosing maturity over emotional impulses. In finances, it means saving and investing instead of wasting. In personal growth, it means practicing consistently instead of seeking shortcuts. In your goals, it means taking action every day, even if results are not immediate. This mindset requires patience. It demands trust in the process. You must learn to appreciate the journey as much as the destination. You must embrace the discomfort of waiting, working, and improving without expecting instant rewards. And as you do this, something remarkable happens. Your capacity to endure challenges increases, your resilience span, and your long-term achievements become inevitable. Delaying gratification is not about punishment. It's about empowerment. It's about choosing the life you want most over the life that feels easy right now. It's about mastering your impulses so your impulses don't master you. And training your mind daily is the foundation of true discipline, because mental strength is not something you build once. It's something you build continuously through deliberate practice. Just as your body becomes weak without regular exercise, your mind becomes scattered, fragile, and unfocused without consistent training. Most people understand the importance of physical workouts, but very few realize that the mind needs even more shaping, conditioning, and strengthening. A disciplined mind is not born. It is built through daily habits that challenge your thinking, sharpen your awareness, and elevate your perspective. And training your mind starts with feeding it the right input. What you read, watch, listen to, and think about becomes the material your mind uses to shape your future. If your mind consumes negativity, drama, and distraction, it will become unfocused and reactive. But if you feed it knowledge, reflection, and discipline-focused routines, it becomes powerful, strategic, and resilient. Daily mental training also means practicing mindfulness, learning to observe your thoughts without being controlled by them. It means spending a few minutes every day in silence, breathing, reflecting, and reconnecting with your goals. These small moments strengthen your ability to stay present, to think clearly, and to resist the noise that constantly surrounds you. Another essential part of training your mind is practicing self-control. Every day offers countless opportunities to give in to impulses. Scrolling, procrastinating, overeating, reacting emotionally, or chasing comfort. When you resist these temptations, even in small ways, you exercise the mental muscles that support long-term discipline. Over time, this self-control becomes automatic, and you begin to operate from strength instead of weakness. Training your mind also involves challenging your limits. When you push yourself to think beyond comfort, to solve problems, to learn new skills, or to do tasks you would rather avoid, you expand your mental capacity. You teach your mind that it can handle difficulty, that it can remain steady under pressure, and that it can adapt to new challenges with confidence. Consistency is key. It's not about doing something once in a while. It's about building daily rituals that strengthen your mental resilience. Reading for growth, writing down your thoughts, reflecting on your actions, visualizing your goals, and practicing gratitude. All of these shape your internal world. They train your mind to see opportunities instead of obstacles, solutions instead of problems, and possibilities instead of limitations. A trained mind becomes your greatest weapon. It protects you from emotional chaos, guides you through uncertainty, and pushes you toward progress even when motivation fades. It becomes the foundation of your habits, actions, decisions, and ultimately your destiny. Building unbreakable self-respect is one of the deepest outcomes of disciplining your mind, because self-respect is not something others give you. It's something you earn from yourself through your actions, your consistency, and your standards. Most people struggle with confidence not because they are incapable, but because they constantly break the promises they make to themselves. Every time you say you will do something and you don't, you weaken your internal trust. Every time you choose comfort over commitment, you silently tell yourself that your goals are optional. Over time, this erodes self-respect. But when you discipline your mind, you begin to rebuild this internal foundation. You start to follow through even when you don't feel like it. You start finishing what you start. You begin to develop an identity of someone who can count on themselves. This identity is powerful because it shapes every area of your life. When you trust yourself, you take bigger risks, aim for higher goals, and carry yourself with a quiet, unshakable confidence. Self-respect also means refusing to tolerate behaviors, habits, or environments that diminish you. You stop accepting excuses from yourself. You stop staying in situations where your value is ignored. You stop lowering your standards just to fit in or feel comfortable. Instead, you raise your expectations, not of others, but of yourself. You learn to walk away from what drains you and move toward what strengthens you. Self-respect grows through discipline. When you wake up early, even though it's difficult, you earn self-respect. When you keep working when it's tiring, you earn self-respect. When you speak the truth instead of avoiding discomfort, you earn self-respect. Every disciplined action is a vote for the person you want to become. These votes accumulate and eventually they reshape your identity. Another aspect of unbreakable self-respect is learning how to protect your boundaries. You stop letting people walk over your time, your energy, or your emotions. You learn to say no without guilt. You understand that value in yourself is not selfish, it is necessary. When you discipline your mind, you become clear about what you will accept and what you will not. You no longer allow disrespect or negativity to have space in your life. Self-respect also grows through honesty with yourself. You acknowledge your weaknesses without running from them. You face your flaws without hiding behind excuses. You take responsibility for your actions instead of blaming others. This honesty strengthens you because it allows you to grow, improve, and evolve without fear. As your self-respect increases, your entire behavior changes. You walk differently, think differently, and choose differently. You carry a sense of inner worth that cannot be shaken by criticism, rejection, or failure. You stop chasing validation because you no longer need permission to value yourself. You have already given yourself that authority through disciplined action and personal integrity. Unbreakable self-respect becomes a shield, a guide, and a source of power that transforms your life from the inside out. Eliminating mental clutter is one of the most important steps in disciplining your mind, because a cluttered mind cannot think clearly, stay focused, or make strong decisions. Mental clutter is everything that occupies your mind without adding value. And overthinking, regrets, unnecessary worries, excessive comparison, imagined scenarios, emotional baggage, and the constant replaying of old memories. These thoughts drain your energy, cloud your judgment, and prevent you from living fully in the present moment. Most people don't realize how much noise fills their minds on a daily basis. They carry conversations from years ago, fears about tomorrow, doubts created by others, and emotions they never processed. All this clutter becomes a heavy weight that slows them down, distracts them, and keeps them stuck in cycles of confusion and stress. A disciplined mind learns to recognize this noise and clear it out, creating space for clarity, purpose, and peace. Eliminating mental clutter begins with awareness. You must first notice what is occupying your mind. Is it a thought that helps you grow, or is it one that drains you? Is it something you can control or something that only causes unnecessary stress? A disciplined mind asks these questions constantly. The moment it identifies a useless or harmful thought, it chooses not to engage with it. This is how you stop your mind from being consumed by things that don't matter. Another powerful way to remove mental clutter is by simplifying your priorities. When you try to focus on too many goals, too many tasks, or too many responsibilities at once, your mind becomes overloaded. But when you reduce your priorities to what truly matters, your mental environment becomes cleaner, calmer, and far more productive. You start thinking in a straight line instead of in chaotic circles. Letting go of the past is another essential step. Many people carry regrets, mistakes, and old wounds that serve no purpose except to hold them back. A disciplined mind understands that the past cannot be changed, but it can be released. You don't erase it. You simply stop allowing it to control your present. You stop replaying scenarios that no longer serve you. You stop handing power to memories that belong behind you. Mental clutter also comes from worrying about things outside your control. A disciplined mind learns to separate what it can influence from what it cannot. When you stop wasting energy on uncontrollable outcomes, your mental world becomes lighter and more stable. You free your mind to focus on actions instead of fears, progress instead of panic. Digital clutter, social noise, and constant information overload also add to mental chaos. A disciplined mind knows when to disconnect, step away, and create silence. A silence is not empty. It is where clarity grows. It is where solutions rise. It is where your mind resets and regains its strength. When you eliminate mental clutter, you sharpen your focus, increase your self-awareness, and regain control of your emotional state. You think clearer, react slower, and act with intention. Your mind stops feeling like a battlefield and becomes a powerful, organized space where creativity, discipline, and inner peace can thrive. Protecting your attention is one of the most critical disciplines you can develop because your attention determines the direction of your life. Whatever you consistently focus on grows stronger. Whatever you give your mental energy to shapes your decisions, your habits, and your future. Yet most people live with their attention constantly under attack from distractions, from other people's demands, from technology, from negative influences, and from their own undisciplined thoughts. A disciplined mind knows that attention is not something to be given freely. It is something to guard like a treasure. Your attention is limited. You cannot give it to everything and expect to stay productive, motivated, or emotionally stable. Every notification, every piece of gossip, every unnecessary argument, every pointless indulgence steals a piece of your mental energy. Over time, these small leaks drain your focus, weaken your discipline, and scatter your ability to pursue meaningful goals. Protecting your attention means becoming extremely selective about where you place your mental focus. This requires conscious boundaries. You must decide who and what gets access to your mind. Not every conversation deserves your response. Not every problem deserves your involvement. Not every opinion deserves space in your head. A disciplined mind filters information ruthlessly. It says yes only to what aligns with your values, your growth, and your long-term vision. Everything else is noise. Protecting your attention also means managing your environment. Your surroundings influence your thoughts more than you realize. When you are constantly surrounded by distractions, mess, noise, notifications, or chaotic people, your attention becomes divided. But when you intentionally create a space that supports focus, your mind automatically becomes more calm and centered. Your environment can either weaken your discipline or strengthen it. Another aspect of safeguarding your attention is learning to detach from digital distractions. The modern world is designed to keep you hooked, scrolling, checking, reacting, comparing. Every swipe steals a little piece of your attention. Every moment spent consumed by other people's lives takes time away from building your own. A disciplined mind understands when to disconnect. It understands the difference between using technology as a tool and becoming a slave to it. Protecting your attention also means mastering your internal distractions. Your mind will try to wander, overthink, and entertain unnecessary thoughts. Instead of chasing every impulse, you redirect your attention back to the task, the goal, or the priority at hand. This constant redirection is mental training. It strengthens your ability to stay present, focused, and in control. When you learn to protect your attention, your productivity increases, your emotional energy stabilizes, and your sense of purpose becomes clearer. You stop feeling overwhelmed because you are no longer mentally scattered. You stop feeling drained because you are no longer giving energy to things that don't matter. You start moving through life with intention, clarity, and strength. The ability to respond instead of react is one of the greatest signs of a disciplined and mature mind. Then most people operate on emotional autopilot. They react instantly to situations without thinking, without pausing, and without considering the consequences. Their emotions dictate their behavior, their impulses shape their decisions, and their temporary feelings often create permanent problems. But a disciplined mind refuses to be controlled by sudden emotional spikes. It understands that reacting is easy, but responding is powerful. When you react, you give away your control. You allow external events, other people's words, and unexpected challenges to dictate how you feel and what you do. A reaction is fast, impulsive, and often regrettable. But when you respond, you reclaim that control. You create a gap between the stimulus and the action, between what happens to you and how you choose to handle it. That gap is where clarity lives. That gap is where wisdom grows. That is where emotional strength develops. Responding requires awareness. It means noticing your emotional triggers instead of being ruled by them. It means recognizing the moment your anger rises, your frustration spikes, or your fear intensifies, and choosing to pause before acting. This pause allows your rational mind to step in. It gives you space to evaluate the situation. Is this worth my energy? Is this the right time to speak? Is my emotion telling the truth? Will this reaction help me or hurt me? When you build the discipline to respond rather than react, you protect your relationships from unnecessary harm. You prevent conflicts from escalating, and you avoid decisions driven by temporary emotions. You begin to act from strength instead of weakness. You become someone who is harder to provoke, harder to manipulate, and harder to break mentally. Responding also strengthens your self-control. You no longer feel the need to win every argument, defend every insult, or prove yourself in every situation. You begin to realize that silence can be more powerful than anger, calmness more effective than aggression, and composure more respected than loudness. You become someone who carries emotional maturity, and that maturity influences how others treat you. Another benefit of learning to respond is that it improves your decision making. Reacting narrows your thinking. It traps you in your emotions. Responding expands your perspective. It opens room for logic, patience, and clarity. You start making choices based on long-term outcomes instead of short-lived impulses. This shift elevates every part of your life, your work, your relationships, your mindset, and your personal growth. To master the art of responding, you must train your mind daily. Practice slowing down. Practice observing your emotions without immediately acting on them. Practice breathing before speaking. Practice walking away before exploding. These small acts of restraint build immense mental strength. Over time, responding becomes your natural habit. You stop allowing your emotions to speak louder than your intelligence. You stop giving away your power to external situations. You stop being controlled by the heat of the moment, and instead you begin to live with intention, clarity, and unwavering self-control. Mastering your inner dialogue is one of the most transformative disciplines you can develop, because the conversations you have with yourself shape your beliefs, your confidence, your actions, and ultimately your destiny. Most people don't realize how powerful their self-talk is. They speak to themselves in ways they would never allow another person to speak to them. They criticize themselves harshly, doubt their abilities, magnify their weaknesses, and replay their failures until those thoughts become their truth. A disciplined mind refuses to let this happen. It takes control of the inner voice and turns it into a source of strength, not sabotage. Your inner dialogue is always running. It's the voice that tells you whether you can or cannot, whether you're capable or incapable, whether you should continue or give up. If that voice is negative, fearful, or critical, it becomes a constant barrier between you and your goals. But when you discipline your mind, you begin to challenge that voice. You start questioning whether the negative thoughts you hear are facts or just echoes of past fears. You replace doubt with direction, insecurity with intention, and negativity with clarity. Mastering your inner dialogue requires deep self-awareness. You must pay attention to the way you speak to yourself when things go wrong, when you feel pressured, when you face setbacks, or when your motivation fades. Do you encourage yourself or attack yourself? Do you find solutions or create problems? Do you uplift yourself or tear yourself down? The quality of your inner dialogue determines whether your mind becomes your enemy or your ally. A disciplined mind learns to shift its inner language from judgment to guidance. Instead of saying, I failed, you tell yourself, I learned something valuable. Instead of thinking, I can't do this, you say, I will figure this out step by step. Instead of weakening yourself with thoughts like, I'm not good enough, you strengthen yourself with, I'm improving every day. These subtle shifts change not only how you think, but also how you act. A supportive inner dialogue leads to stronger actions, better decisions, and higher confidence. Mastering your inner dialogue also means disciplining your mind not to exaggerate negativity. The mind loves to create dramatic stories, imagining worst-case scenarios, assuming the worst about yourself, or replaying old mistakes until they define you. But when you discipline your inner dialogue, you stop feeding these stories. You start focusing on facts instead of fears. You start reminding yourself of your strengths, your progress, and your potential. Another important aspect is learning to speak to yourself with patience. Growth is not instant. Change takes time. Discipline requires consistency. When you are overly harsh with yourself, you create resistance and burnout. But when your inner voice becomes encouraging, steady, and focused, you build long-term resilience. You learn to guide yourself through challenges instead of collapsing under pressure. A disciplined inner dialogue eventually becomes your shield against negativity from the outside world. When your own voice supports you, criticism from others cannot break you. When your mind believes in you, setbacks cannot stop you. When your inner dialogue is strong, your life becomes aligned with strength, clarity, and purpose. Mastering this inner voice is not about blind positivity. It's about truthful, empowering, and disciplined thinking. It's about creating a mindset that helps you rise instead of fall, move forward instead of retreat, and become the strongest version of yourself from the inside out. One of the most defining traits of a disciplined mind is the ability to delay gratification. It's the strength to say, not now, because I am building something bigger. Most people fall into the trap of chasing quick comfort, scrolling, sleeping, eating, indulging impulses, because the brain naturally loves convenience. But those who rise above average learn to override that primitive instinct and choose what serves their long-term goals, not just their momentary feelings. Delaying gratification isn't about depriving yourself. It's about redirecting your energy towards something that actually matters. When you discipline your mind, you become capable of resisting the urge to escape into distractions. You no longer let impulses dictate your choices. You pause, breathe, think, and act with intention. You understand that every time you choose effort over ease, you're strengthening the mental muscles that will carry you through challenges others quit on. This principle applies to everything: finances, fitness, relationships, habits, work ethics, self-control. A disciplined mind understands that the reward you earn through consistency is far more fulfilling than any temporary pleasure. When you teach yourself to delay gratification, motivation. You build a sense of pride, confidence, and inner power that cannot be taken away. You start seeing the bigger picture, valuing progress more than comfort, and choosing actions that align with your future, not your impulses. And once your mind becomes trained this way, you begin to experience a level of clarity and dominance over your life that most people never reach in the end. Everything you want, every dream you hold, every breakthrough you're chasing, all of it depends on one thing: your mind. Not your circumstances, not your past, not your excuses, not your fears, your mind. Because the moment you take control of your thoughts, you take control of your life. Discipline is not a punishment, it's a superpower. It's the quiet force that turns ordinary people into extraordinary achievers. It's the reason some break through while others stay stuck. It's the difference between living by reactions and living by purpose. And the truth is simple. If you do not discipline your mind, life will discipline you. Every day, you are battling distractions, temptations, doubts, insecurities, and fears. But the strongest version of you is already inside you, waiting for you to choose it, waiting for you to silence the noise, waiting for you to rise above your impulses, waiting for you to say, I control my thoughts, I control my actions, I control my destiny. So stand up for the future you believe in. Stand up for the person you know you can become. Train your mind until focus becomes natural, until discipline becomes automatic, until your goals become non-negotiable. Because once your mind becomes disciplined, nothing and no one can stop you. Your power begins the moment you decide, this is who I am now. This is how I live. This is how I rise. Discipline your mind and you will change your life forever.